Hi everyone and welcome back to the Art Life YouTube channel. My name's Mrs. B and I created Art Life to create some lessons for you that you can do at home that are simple, fun, artistic things that you might not have thought of seen before. And today I'm going to introduce you to a really fantastic material that I've just discovered through the Zart Art website. Now I have a discount code and a link to their website in the description if you'd like to check them out. Now the specific material that we're going to use today is called vinyl. Now you can get vinyl from lots of different places. You could also use different types of material, but Zart sell it in a really fantastic simple pack. They're A4 sheets with lots of different colors. So for my kids in my class, I just cut them into A5 sheets and each student worked on a small piece like this. What we're going to do to add colour and pattern to these vinyl sheets is use some transfers. Now I'll teach you how to use these transfers. These are also available through Zart and they're fantastic. These are just some scraps that I have left over. I literally did this lesson with my grade 4s yesterday and I was so excited about it and they loved it so much that I had to put it into a video for you so that you can do it within your classroom or even at home. Now these also are super easy and you can see every colour of the rainbow. So you'll also need an iron. So these are iron-on transfers. So you will need an iron on very, very low heat and we'll get started. Now, normally I wouldn't teach you something with such specific materials, but I wanted to do this to show you that it really is worth investing in these iron-on transfer sheets. The reason is because you can pretty much iron them onto any surface or any material. So for example, if you wanted to order some t-shirts for each of your students or for your kids, they could design their own t-shirt and iron on the design onto the t-shirt. That would be so cool. But when I taught this with my grade 4s the other day, the first thing I introduced to them was abstract art. We chatted about what abstract art is and the types of things you see in abstract art, being things like lines and shapes and colors and patterns, the art elements. I also then looked into 4 distinct abstract artists. First, we looked at Wassily Kandinsky. Now, Wassily Kandinsky loved lines and patterns. He used a lot of sharp edges, he used a lot of circles, and some of the art you can sometimes try to interpret what it meant just by some of the shapes that he used. Now, we also had a look at an artist called Miro, and Miro loved shapes and lines as well, but his lines were more wobbly, and his colours were the primary colours, so really bright yellows, blues and reds. Then we had a look at Henri Matisse and how he used to do collages and use organic shapes, so random kind of lines and shapes that were inspired by nature, leaves and coral and things like that. And our last artist was Paul Klee. And he was very good at using lots of different colours and then using geometric shapes such as squares and rectangles, almost like building blocks. And he would create landscapes using very simple shapes. So after looking at these 4 artists to inspire the students, they then needed to get to work cutting out some shapes that then they would transfer onto their vinyl. So they were able to do whatever design they wanted, but they're working quite small, which if you're an art teacher, you might actually understand is quite difficult for some students. So for my particular design, I'm going to do a lot of sort of random Matisse style shapes, but I'll also do some geometric ones just to show you what happens. So the idea is to just cut out shapes. They can cut as many as they want. There's one here, almost a circle. So it's really good at looking at the student's skill level when it comes to cutting and their attention to detail. And it's a really fantastic task to just design using the basic elements. Now, what I also did was show them how to cut lines just like this. So that's actually quite tricky to do. So you can create lines using the black, make the art sort of really stand out in a bold way. Now, what's really important with these vinyl sheets, now you might notice with this yellow, the white is on the back, so it's really obvious which way this one goes up. However, with the black and some of the other colors, you can't always tell which side is the shiny side. You need to get that right, because that chart, it needs to be glossy side up for it to work. I also taught the students that sometimes they can use the outside of their shape. So I've cut this sort of organic shape here, and now I'm going to cut around it again and use the negative space. Now, I found with this task that because the materials were different to paper, that the students really took their time with it. They weren't sort of, the students that might have normally really rushed some of their cutting and things like that, they really took their time this time. They took it seriously because of these materials that they were using. So that's probably enough for my first layer. What you need to do is then have an iron set to really, really low. Now, depending on the age of the students will depend on whether you get them to do their own ironing. But with grade 4 students, I chose to do the ironing myself. So they came up to my desk where I ironed it for them. So my ironing station looked a lot like this at school, and the students put their work on top of a towel and they arranged where they wanted everything to go and made sure that everything was the right side up, so the glossy side up. Now, I don't suggest that you layer colors yet, and I'll show you why in a moment. So just starting with my first layer now by putting some baking paper over the top and a very low iron. There. And the transfer sheets have stuck to my vinyl. This is fairly hot, so please make sure the kids are careful. So now what you can do is actually peel off the plastic protector. It's almost like a sticker that goes over the top of the transfer, and that needs to be peeled off with each of the shapes. And you can see that a really lovely matte, sort of wobbly texture that molds really nicely to the material is revealed. And the kids actually love peeling off the plastic as well. So that's why we don't layer, because then we wouldn't have been able to peel off this protective coating. But now you can literally layer as many things as you want. So the kids in my class would do one layer, then they'd go back, create another layer, and I'd continue to iron over the top as many times as they wanted to, really, to create their chosen design. And they loved it. Cool, hey? So you can imagine t-shirt designs would look brilliant. So I might just do another layer just to show you what you can do with it. And then what I actually did with the students as well was add in a bit of a sewing aspect. So more textures and lines could be created through sewing. So there, I've arranged my second layer just as my students did, and they would come up. I'd quickly iron it. Yeah, and they'd peel off the plastic. Okay, so now that the ironing and transfer part is over, you can actually get the kids to practice their sewing skills just by sewing in some simple lines. You could teach them how to add things like buttons and embellishments like that. That's sort of an added extra and probably depends on the student that you're teaching or the age of your child. So I'll show you what it looks like, and you may choose to do it or not. So you can literally sew straight through the vinyl too, and the transfer. It looks really cool. So it won't damage it at all. Now that it's in, it'll stay there. So it's super soft as well, this vinyl, so I can sew with fair ease. Some of the students in my grade 4 class have had some bad experiences with sewing, and so they were a little bit worried, but once they sort of had a go, they were able to tell, really how simple it was. I'm just doing some confetti style lines here just to show you how easy and effective this addition is to the task. There. And you can literally just cut it off. I haven't even tied anything on the back. It doesn't matter that the back is messy. I'll just cut that off. And there is a really great, exciting way to teach abstract art, shapes, colour, lines, sewing, cutting, lots of different skills and exciting things to learn. Now, don't forget to tag me at ArtLife Art Lessons on Facebook or at artlife.melb on Instagram, because that is where I post lots of photos and extra ideas and tips and things like that as well. I also have my personal art page, which is at Kerry_Bevis_art on Instagram if you would like to have a look at my personal art collection. Hope you loved it. Something extra that you could do with this task if you had extra time is actually turn the piece of vinyl into something. You know, you could turn it into, I don't know, a bag. Sew the sides up and become a bag. You could turn it into anything. You could make it book covers. It really is an extremely open-ended, exciting kind of material that I encourage you to get in your storeroom of your art room or even in your craft drawer at home. So it's as simple as that. This was such a fun task with my grade 4s, and I suggest that you could do it with probably any class above that age. Please make sure that you tag me on my socials if you've had a go, and you can communicate with me there as well if you have any questions. If you feel like checking out my art, please go to @Kerry_Bevis_art on Instagram. I also have a website if you'd like to purchase. I really do love getting creative, and your support means a lot to me. Have a great day. Bye.